Hey, this is the first thing I noticed when I arrived in Sweden. Okay, no, this is not on the list, but there are other things which I discovered just by living here 3 weeks. I'm like a sponge at the moment and taking in all the impressions of living in Sweden. So, whilst there are already quite a few people out there talking about their experience after living at least 2 years in Sweden, I just moved here 3 weeks ago, so my perspective and my opinions and my impressions are very fresh. So thanks for tuning in. My name is Julie and I'm originally from Germany. I used to live in the UK in the past 10 years and I just moved to Sweden, Stockholm in particular, just 3 weeks ago. So I'm mentioning this because my opinion is quite personal. You know, I am German and I have lived in Germany, so I'm sure I'm making comparisons with Germany a little bit. Then I have lived in the UK the past 10 years, which is very fresh in my mind, so I definitely will also compare it to the UK, in particular more to London, because that's where I also lived in the last 10 years. But yeah, I hope you will enjoy it. Let's start with the first thing I noticed right away when I moved to London. It's a clean city. Like my partner and I, we walked around. That's what you do really when you move to a new city, even on holiday, I would say. You just want to walk everywhere to take in the environment. And we did that definitely in the last 3 weeks, especially at the weekend. And it is so clean. It looks all very new, actually. By that, I mean the streets, the houses, there's barely any graffiti. We come from London and we even lived in East London, which is famous more for, being a bit wilder, a bit more artistic. So you find a lot of paintings and graffiti on the walls and the streets. And you don't have that so much here. Of course, I haven't explored the whole of Stockholm. I'm really only talking about my first impressions. But yeah, even taking public transport, I had the impression everything looks really clean. The buses are so comfortable and nice. I actually like taking the bus. It just started to rain. Well, my next point was actually to talk about the hot summers. So today is not one of them because it's raining, but in the last 3 weeks, it has been fantastic. So we moved here on the 1st of June, and since then, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 rainy days. But in 3 weeks, that's not a lot. In London, you basically have 2 weeks of summer and that's kind of it. But yeah, when we arrived here, I kind of forgot what a real summer feels like. Obviously, I come from Germany and the summers there are also quite hot. I looked up the weather in London, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I can show you what it looked like here and what it looked like at the same day in Stockholm. And you will see quite a difference. It's like double the degrees. But okay, a Swedish friend actually mentioned that is almost too good. So I don't know if it was just a welcome summer for us coming from London. So thank you, Sweden. That was really nice of you. What I also love with Stockholm is the lakes and the sea. There's so much water here. There's so many beaches you can hang out. Like I wanted to go to the beach every single day. And I think we almost spent a week just by the beaches, hanging out, taking in all that sunshine and cooling off in the water. I find that so nice. But yeah, let's see what the rest of summer looks like. I was told now that Stockholm will be dead because everyone is on holidays and they normally escape the city and go to their holiday houses outside the city. So it will be interesting to see what Stockholm looks like when the people are just outside in the countryside. One thing I wanted to say about the weather, I know that a lot of people kind of say that the winters are really harsh and that this could be a bit of a downside of living in Sweden. But I tell you one thing, I used to live in Singapore for 1 year, and you know what I missed the most? The seasons. It was hot pretty much all the time, even on Christmas. And I didn't like it that much. So I was never really aware of it until I experienced it. So I'm actually looking forward to a colder season at some point, not right now. Right now, we are enjoying the Swedish summer. Another thing which I noticed right away is that Stockholm is quite expensive. Well, this is not a surprise, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit how my first impressions are. I mean, I come from a very weird time before. First of all, of course, London is not that different from Stockholm. The main thing was really that there was lockdown in the past 1.5 years in London, at least it felt like this. So I wasn't really used to spend anything. We barely went to restaurants. I mean, most of them were closed all the time. We didn't buy anything, we didn't go shopping, we didn't do any exploring, visited any attractions where you spend money. So it feels a little bit weird to have everything available to you now. And yeah, of course, we just moved countries. So at the very beginning, you just kind of want to enjoy yourself. You want to explore it a little bit. You just don't want to sit at home and save money. So that's probably also a reason why we definitely have more restaurant visits, for example, or we go to museums or other attractions. So fair enough on us. We are spending a little bit of money. So I have to get my head around it first a little bit, to hopefully get back to a little bit of more saving or just being very strategic with my money. So yeah, I want to find out if there are actually good ways to save some money in Sweden, particularly in Stockholm. I have the feeling it doesn't have to be that expensive if you really know what you are doing, if you really know where to go. So I will keep you updated if it improves or if Stockholm is just expensive. And something I noticed straight away when we moved here is that people are actually friendly. I don't know why this is such a big thing, but when I did my research, a lot of people were asking in forums, are Swedish people nice? Are they kind? And also, is it easy to make friends with Swedes? I'm sure everyone is quite different and it really depends where you meet someone or, you know, what circumstances. And then also I feel it depends a little bit on, you know, myself, how open I am to people. If I'm smiling at people, I already see so many people just saying good morning to me randomly. I was jogging this morning and, you know, people were giving me a smile or, you know, said good morning. I thought that was really nice. It's not something I have experienced so much in London because I feel obviously there are loads and loads of people. Also, I already had really nice experiences with random people. There were 2 occasions on the bus where one guy was really kind, helping me out in the bus. And then there was a woman who actually started talking to me, and she talked to me in Swedish. And I tried to, you know, tell her I don't speak Swedish yet. And she just continued to speak to me, you know, with her hands and gestures. She was really interested in talking to me, although we could barely understand each other. I thought that was actually quite cool. And you know, I dropped all my Swedish skills like, hey do. Okay, that's kind of it, sorry. Oh yeah, and I also went to the library and the people there were so kind, I could not believe it. And there was even a guy who could speak German, which I was very impressed with. So yeah, you can obviously think this kind of a service, you know, but people don't have to be that kind. I never really take that for granted, so it actually really sticks in my mind if someone is friendly to me. But yeah, I mentioned when I did my research, I came across a few things which I actually want to read out to you, so you can just see why I actually mentioned this as something I noticed straight away. So yeah, for example, here someone says, you know, I kind of get the same impression. You can even read the comment section under Swedish YouTube videos without wanting to end humanity. Of course, not everyone is equally nice, but to be honest, even Swedish unfriendliness almost seems friendlier than the friendliness in Germany, where I'm from. A fellow Germans, they actually say Sweden is much friendlier than Germany. So maybe if you come from another country, which is not Germany, you feel like Swedish people might not be friendly, but you have a good chance to feel Swedish people are very friendly if you come from Germany. On the other hand, there seems to often be an unspoken obligation, not so much in pretty anonymous forums like this though, to repay that kindness by not rocking the boat too much, which is hard for me. Then I sometimes get judged silently and I find myself wishing the Swedes would be more like Germans and just tell me exactly what I did wrong. I'm learning to be more diplomatic and explain myself in a more nuanced way thanks to this though. So it all has its pros and cons, but friendly, absolutely. By the way, this is just someone who answered a question because someone asked in Reddit, are Swedes friendly? So you can already see it's so personal, it's hard to actually generalize it. But then there's another Reddit post I wanted to just show you to give you a better idea what people think. Swedes can be harder to befriend than other nationalities. We often are seen as shallow people who only talks about the weather. I talked about the weather earlier. This is partly true. When you don't know someone good, you rarely talk about deeper things, a part of what is known as law of junta. But when you get to know someone, we are very nice and friendly. Of course, this is generally speaking, all people are different. There are both extremely extrovert and introvert people. So this actually comes from a Swedish person who replies to the same comment, are Swedish people friendly and is it easy to make friends with Swedish people? My tips is to find people through an interest when doing something you both like. Swedes are easier to get close to. Also, drinking is an effective way for Swedes to get more open. And yes, Swedish and Norwegian culture are basically the same, very minor differences. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to show you this because there's so many different opinions out there. And all I wanted to say, my first impression after living in Sweden only for 3 weeks is that people are quite friendly. And yes, I'm German, but I also come from the UK and they are quite known for being quite kind. You know, people say sorry on the street. So I have kind of both worlds, but my first impression is really good. So let's see how it goes in the next weeks, months and years. And the last part is more a question. So if you can answer that question, thank you very much. But it's about the beggars on the street. I mean, Sweden seems cashless. I haven't withdrawn any cash from the bank since I arrived, and I don't see why I should do that because everywhere people have, you know, little iZettles or whatever. You can pay cashless, especially in the pandemic, I guess. It's also very welcomed. But yeah, I feel so sorry. I see some beggars, not that many to be honest. Not like London, it's very, very different. But when I see them, even street musicians, you know, I feel like I want to give them something, but I don't have any cash. So how do they actually make any money? Do people still have cash on the streets? So yeah, maybe the last one is a bit stupid, but I was walking around a little bit and noticed that, and I was just wondering how they actually make any money, because it does bother me not knowing. So these are the first things I noticed when I arrived in Sweden in the last 3 weeks. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching till the end. I'm really excited to talk about my impressions and how I find living in Sweden almost week by week. So make sure you follow along if you're interested in it. And you know, I'm always happy to get some tips from you, especially if you're from Sweden or if you have lived here for a long time, or you know, even a few months, weeks, whatever, I don't mind. If you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments down below as well. Have a great day and stay safe. Hej då!